and we're making good progress towards clinical studies. I'm excited to announce that we received a breakthrough device designation from the FDA in July, thanks to the hard work of the Neuralink team.
The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, the agency responsible for approving clinical trials for drugs and medical devices, has recently granted Elon Musk's Neuralink N1 device the FDA Breakthrough Device designation. But what does this mean? In simple terms, it's a green light for beginning human trials. As Musk explains it, neurons are like wiring, and you need something electronic to address an electronic issue. Quite a perspective, right? This candid approach has gained attention because Neuralink has already been successfully tested on pigs and rhesus macaques, a species of monkeys closely related to humans in terms of DNA. Musk is now preparing to start human trials, aiming to kick them off by the end of 2026. Here's the vision. Once these trials are successful, patients will be able to visit a hospital where a surgical robot can implant the Neuralink N1 device into their brain. The procedure, which takes just an hour, would be fully automated. No anesthesia, no post-surgery bleeding. Patients could simply walk out of the hospital the same day. Sounds unbelievable, right? But it's closer to reality than you think. Let's break it down. Imagine moving a cursor on a computer screen. The activity involved in making that movement originates in the brain, specifically in the primary motor cortex, also known as the M1 region. Here's the key. By using a smart device to interpret this electrical activity and translate it into commands, communication could happen in a whole new way. And that's the revolutionary idea behind Neuralink. You've probably heard of brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs. Neuralink's N1 device is exactly that. A BCI designed to transmit the brain's electrical signals in a way that feels almost telepathic. Sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, right? But let me assure you, this concept isn't as new as it seems. Different companies might be developing their own versions of this technology, but the underlying science and principles remain largely the same, and they're simpler to understand than you might think. Let me break it down for you. To grasp how this works, we first need to understand the basics of how the brain operates. Our brain contains roughly 100 billion neurons, and each of these neurons has three main parts: dendrites, a soma, and an axon. Dendrites are like signal receivers. They take in chemical messages from nearby neurons, which are transmitted as neurotransmitters. The soma, or cell body, processes these chemical signals and translates them into electrical impulses. Finally, the axon acts as a messenger, carrying these electrical signals to the dendrites of another neuron across tiny gaps called synapses. So, even the smallest task we perform involves a complex, ongoing exchange of electrical and chemical signals within the brain. Depending on the task, certain brain regions may be more active, while others are quieter. This is where Neuralink comes into play. As a brain-computer interface, its primary job is to monitor these electrical patterns in the brain and interpret them. Essentially, the device bridges the gap between what someone is thinking and how that information can be translated into actionable data through a computer. Pretty fascinating, right? Still didn't get it? Well, if you want to understand it from another perspective, then look, even though it travels through an insulated wire, around that wire, the electric field of the current flowing through it can be detected. Similarly, the electric field of the electrical impulse flowing through the neuron can also be detected. Just place some microelectrodes around their axons and then try to hear the impulses in the form of popping sounds. Genius technique, right? And why not? It has been working on this for at least 2 decades. Just look at the 2002 animal demonstration, in which a monkey, with the help of his brain, is moving the cursor of a computer. Or the 2006 human demonstration, in which a person, almost completely paralyzed by a C3-C4 spinal injury, was able to control a robotic arm just on the basis of his brain. So you see, this technology was already there. Elon Musk has not only pioneered it, but this is Elon Musk's specialty. He finds value in the already existing technology and invents a multiple times better version of it, which is wonderfully, at the same time, efficient, practical, and affordable. It's not like no one has tried to make electric vehicles before. Porsche's founder, Ferdinand Porsche, or Ford's founder, Henry Ford, or even further, Thomas Edison, who brought revolution in the field of electricity, have all made electric cars between the early 19th century and the late 20th century. The only difference was that it was Tesla who rectified the major drawbacks and made the first electric car that could give an average of 200 miles in a single charge. More than 320 kilometers. And not to forget, also with a faster charging speed. Now that's an achievement, right? And exactly on this same principle, Neuralink N1 has also been made, improving the existing technology in multiple folds and making it practical and human consumable. Presently, in the field of neuroprosthetics, Utah Array and Synchron's Neuro, EP have already reached the human trial stage. But the question now is, why are people still waiting for Neuralink N1? Well, because in Utah Array, a 100 rigid needle electrode-like chip is inserted in the patient's brain, whose wires then come out of the skull and connect to a separate computer system to interpret the signals. In short, this is a completely impractical design for daily usage by any patient. Now, to solve this problem, Synchron has brought a compact device, but then it too has its own drawbacks. Actually, Neuro EP's microelectrodes do not penetrate the brain like needles. Instead, they are implanted in blood vessels surrounding the brain like heart stents, from where the signal is relayed to a small recorder fitted in the chest and is wirelessly transmitted to a computer or smartphone. Now, I know this is a unique way, but can you notice the major fundamental issue over here? Synchron's so-called stentrodes do not directly touch the brain tissue, which directly means decreased accuracy in identifying and interpreting the signals. Who knows? While multitasking, the robotic arm of the patient might pick up a pen and try to write instead of writing on a book. You never know. That's why, for greater accuracy, you need your microelectrodes to be placed right beside the neurons, just like in Neuralink. Because in the case of Neuralink, first of all, its microelectrodes are very flexible. Secondly, its Bluetooth transmitter is coin-sized and fits directly into the skull. And finally, the most important part is its entire installation in your brain is done by a surgical robot without breaking even a single blood vessel in the process. That means it is as accurate as Neuralink and compact as NeurAP, despite having more electrodes than both. But wait a second, by increasing the number of calcified electrodes by 5 to 10 times, the efficiency of the device also increases by 5 to 10 folds. I mean, how do you compare and prove that? Because where the brain is used, Neuralink needs to be used. On the brain to improve. And conducting clinical trials on humans is a whole different ballgame altogether. I mean, if we go to Neuralink's official website, they have mentioned quite clearly that before conducting clinical trials on healthy animals, they had conducted trials on dead animals and terminal animals, so that with the help of dead animals, both the surgical procedure and the actual device could be improved. But then, what happened with Neuralink? An unnecessary controversy resulted in the designation of FDA breakthrough device, but the approval of human trials is still in the pipeline, even though the device is way above its competitor. I mean, just look at this representation, as soon. As Neuralink's electrodes are activated, each electrode starts making colorful spheres like this. The size of these spheres basically shows the intensity of the electrical activity occurring around those particular electrodes, while their color shows the direction of those electrical impulses. I mean, all the signals are so well organized that in the future, this device can be further improved. For example, presently, Neuralink has already become so advanced that a rhesus monkey named Pager can be seen controlling a video game with only his brain without his brain, or the device to be seen. This achievement is so big that if safety checks go well, this monkey alone is enough to get Neuralink's approval for a human trial. Because on Neuralink's official website, it says that their future prospects are not only to get paralyzed patients. To communicate with us, their main aim is to cure people suffering from mental issues with the help of Neuralink. For example, one of their main future goals is to also make a triggering mechanism that can trigger motor neurons in the hands and legs of paralyzed patients. In fact, this has always been Musk's philosophy. SpaceX's senior executive and former NASA astronaut Garrett Reisman had recently revealed in a podcast that Musk has two main philosophies. First is that everything he does should have a practical application, and second is that whatever tech he makes, that should have some role to play in creating a self-sustaining colony on Mars. Now think for yourself, if you look at Musk's all the major achievements, so far, all the dots start connecting. Like tell me, why did Musk make SpaceX? Obviously, to create a cheap, affordable mode of transport between Earth and Mars. So, why did he choose to invest in electric vehicles? The answer is straightforward. Fossil fuels are unlikely to be available on Mars, but sunlight is abundant on both Earth and Mars. Now, moving on to the next point. Why is Starlink focused on creating a satellite-based internet system? It's because satellites are far more efficient, practical, and cost-effective than traditional mobile towers, especially when it comes to providing extensive coverage across large areas. With that in mind, let's think about this. Do you believe Neuralink N1 is only designed to treat mental health issues or help patients in need? Or could Neuralink be a complementary project to Starlink, enabling telepathic communication among people? Imagine such a system being used on Mars or any other unstable planet where traditional communication methods may not be feasible. This technology could drastically reduce communication challenges, making it 1,000 times more effective and fostering greater cooperation among humans. Such advancements would be a game changer, empowering humanity to thrive and expand in ways we've never seen before. Doesn't that sound like a bold and futuristic step? What are your thoughts on this? Share your opinions in the comments below. And if you found this video insightful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating content.